Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to a video here with the latest Kaiju number 8 release. That is the badass Kikoru Shinomiya. Now, this one I was super excited for. I was really hoping to get announced quite a bit later on after getting Nino. Unfortunately, not the case. So, you know what that means? Yeah. So she has inherited the same issues as Nino and Mina, maybe not quite as bad just due to the fact it is a smaller body. But we will jump into the articulation a little bit later in the video. For now though, the box is rocking the same size as all the other Kaiju figures. The box color matching the colour of her hair and the character colouring, which is obviously yellow. On the back, selection of images showcasing what she comes with, which main one is that big badass axe, pump for that one there, and then obviously the additional face for Kaiju 8 is one where you can kind of see this human element of Kafka behind that mask, which is pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, let's pop her out and we can check out all the accessories that she does actually come with. So Kikoru in the centre, we have a massive axe behind, 3 additional face plates, kind of a cocky smile, the mouth open kind of shocked one and the teeth gritting one. We get the windswept bang hair attachment as well, the additional faceplate for Kaiju 8, and then the 2 pairs of hands, the kind of loose grip one. I think these ones are for holding onto the axe, I would assume. And then she also has her 2 pouches and pistol and holster, which attaches to her just like Reno. So unfortunately we don't have the individual gun for her to hold or anything like that, which I think is a bit of a shame, a missed opportunity. Same with Reno. It would be nice if he came with a base pistol as well. I think the Kaiju 8 line could really do with a accessory set which comes with all these additional parts, which all the different characters can use and interchange with. I think that would definitely elevate the line. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much further this line really goes though. But yeah, that is it for what she does come with. So, to be fair, a decent amount, though most of it is that giant weapon number 3 there on the back, which is awesome. But anyway, let's pop it out of this package and chuck on the turntable so we can take a close look at that finish. Okay, so she's on the turntable. I have switched around one hand to attach the axe so we can check out the finish and detailing on the axe at the same time as Kikoru. Now, basically, if you have any of the other Kaiju figures, the body is what you would expect for the finish. The shoulder guards are soft. We have nice printing of the logo there. All the colouring is the same as well, that kind of base charcoal or gunmetal grey colouring, and then the lighter grey for the boots and the upper parts of the glove. The kind of deep, British racing green and the army green colour for the handle of the axe, the chest plate as well as the pouches, straps on that is really nice. And again, all the detailing sculpt for the gun and pouches is cool. I do like the way how the pouches attached. I just wish we had one holster without the gun in there as well, so we can mix and match a little bit. The colour separation on the massive axe is cool. The printing for the logo of the 03X, was it 012 I think it is, and the hexagon, the logo there is really cool. The colour separation from the silver to the darker charcoal or gunmetal grey is great as well. And then we also get the little holes there through the axe and the hexagon shape as well. So all of it is crisp and clean and really nice. The faceplates we'll dive in a little bit later when we check that out. The only thing I want to say is I'm not a big fan of the yellow on the hair. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like it's maybe a little bit too pastely, perhaps. Maybe a little bit more vibrancy could have been nice, or a little bit of a different tinge in there. So, give you a bit of an example of that. I do have Android 18 here, who is also has a blonde hair colour, but I think it's a bit more richer with the tones, which looks really nice. And then we also have Lunch. Now, I think maybe the colour of these two is not quite right for Kikoru either, but I feel like maybe an in-between of the 2 or the 3 would have been quite nice. And to give a bit of an example of that, I do have a Gacha Kikoru figure here, and there's a little more green in here, which I think this works a lot nicer. I feel like it would have blended in a bit better with the armour. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about her hair colour? Do you think they could have adjusted it slightly or made it, I don't know, a bit darker? But for example, here goes the manga, right? And there's some green tinge in there. I think this matches up the gacha a lot more. The anime, I think she is obviously more pastely, but more of a, you know, softer yellow colour, but I think in between would have been nice and elevated the figure a little bit at least. But yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below what you think about the overall finish for this figure, colouring, detailing, and all of that. Moving over to articulation now. One thing I think was pretty cool is that the bangs, or ponytails I should say, are on a joint as well, so you can swivel these around as well as the hair tie individually. So that is nice that these are not solid and in a fixed position. So it means you can move it onto the other side of the axe handle, or you know, make it, as you say, jumping and running. You can kind of have it flowing in the direction that it would be. Oh. As I was saying, the hair can be flowing in the direction that it would be if she is falling or, you know, jumping through the air. So that is really cool. Now, coming back to the face or the head area itself, you know, the swivel on it is really nice. She can look down really well, which is good, but there's basically no movement back. Maybe a ½ millimeter, if that. Now, the reason for that is she has two little bit tussle hair at the back, so as soon as you go to move back, they hit on the neck, and that just stops the articulation in place. I feel like, to be honest with you, maybe, yeah, the character design has the hair there. I would have been happy to lop those off just to get the articulation back. Or, if you're going to be really good, follow what the Naruto line does and have the lower part of the hair on a separate floating piece, so you can still get the articulation with having the hair on the back. The way the Naruto line does it is absolutely fantastic. Sure, maybe a little bit hard on this one since it is a smaller area, but it's like when I first opened up Reno and saw he couldn't move his torso. I'm really surprised he can't look back at all. I mean, possibly it won't ever become a real issue per se, but it could be nice to have a photo where she's standing there looking up, you know, into the sky, you know, maybe, you know, in a sad, you know, depressing type of a scene or photo like that. But maybe for display purposes it won't be an issue, but definitely a little bit surprised. However, moving down to the shoulders, as I mentioned, these are on the same type of joint and soft rubber like the other figures. We have a nice joint there which you can see if you lift up the shoulder guard. So moving up is good, and going forward, let's get into the right position. She can cross her arms decently well, which is nice, so movement there is okay. Going back as well is decent. And then we also, hang on, let's see. If we swivel up, the arm will shift out of the way, so not too bad either. And then we also get the bicep swivel, and the elbow joint is really good. So for the most part, the shoulder range of motion is fantastic. And then, yeah, now we come down to the torso, right? Now here we get a few, hang on, let me try and get a bit of grip. We get maybe, motion back is okay, forward, minuscule motion, but we do get some side to side, which is all good. Let me just pop these off just to make it a little bit easier to grip. Okay, so, yeah, again, solid hard plastic in the center torso. Going back, she can actually tilt backwards, which is nice, but it opens up this huge gap here. Not the prettiest. And now going forward, again, due to the belt design, we have these little wee notches that pop up. Due to that, as soon as you try to move forward, they hit on the torso and she stops. So she gets maybe a couple of, maybe 1 mil motion forward, whereas back, since there's nothing there to stop her and it kind of curves down, she can actually angle back pretty far. So again, maybe, I could have been a little bit happy if they maybe just adjusted this slightly, shifted it down, or maybe made this soft so she could tilt, or have it on a joint where this could like maybe slot forward and back a little bit. So if you want to tilt forward, you can push it back, then forward. Not really sure, you know, I'm sure there must be another way you can design this torso to give it more articulation and be a bit more fun, but alas, this is what we have. I think still better than another, but to be honest, it's not really hard, right? Anyway, coming down to the hip area, not really able to do the splits. Going forward, that's about as far as she can go. Going back, pretty decent actually. You can slightly lift the joint up and down a little bit if needed. It makes it a little bit easier to do some poses, or get a bit further range of motion for articulation. Next up we do have the upper thigh swivel. The knee joint is fantastic. That is absolutely really nice. Looks pretty smooth and clean as well, especially if the knee arm is there for green. It is double jointed, which does give the extra range. The ankle, basically the same as the other ones, which is overall pretty decent, and we get the extra on the front shin area, or ankle lower shin area. Toe tip, yes, I mean, to be fair, besides the torso and the head tilting back, articulation actually not bad. There's still just that torso area which is the letdown. But let's see what she's like when we check into a couple of poses towards the end of the video. So yeah, all of the faces that come with Kikoru can mix and match with both of the windswept bangs and the base, straight down look that comes based on the body, which is great. So it does give a few options there. And the printing and the detailing of the face is nice. All the eyebrows, the eye printing. I love that little wee smile one as well, the frown. So yeah, decent range of expressions. Plus the bonus face for Kaiju is really good, with his kind of more human eye coming through, which is cool. It'd be nice to get a full on kind of half transformation one, right? Where it's kind of dissolving on him. That could be a really cool bonus face in the future. Okay, so I have got into a bit of a pose here. I was taking reference from the box of her hold it just to see, how comparable it is to get into a pose from the packaging, and definitely a little bit fiddly. I feel, I don't know, the right hand for me gripping the sword, or not sword, the axe is a little bit easier than the left one. This one, the grip is a little bit softer. It could just be the angle that you're going on though, but she does hold the axe pretty well, and she can hold it there with the joint, so even there is very nice and solid. I kind of wanted to tilt the head back a few times, but it kind of gets a bit more limited, so it is a bit more dependent on the angle. Since she does have a very slim body, it is a bit hard to use a stand on her to get into the right spot to get it into a good pose. I was trying to get her to be standing on the ground, but it was a little bit fiddly, especially for weight distribution of the giant axe. Oh, see, there we go. I feel like this type of figure would benefit like the Spider-Verse ones, with a little wee slot in the back to attach a stand. I think that would definitely work really well. Because then you can put it onto a stand and hold it in a pose where she isn't kind of flopping all over, or you don't have to worry about her slipping out of the stand because she's so, slimmer in comparison to the bigger, chunkier figures. So I switched out to the windswept bangs, the shouting face, and kind of like in a lunging forward, chopping pose, and I'm definitely struggling. I think this figure is definitely for those who are pro at posing, to really utilize the axe to get it looking really badass, especially in a pose where you can put on a stand and stand, without having to hand hold it. Because I think, yeah, definitely you need the right angles and positioning and balancing to get it looking natural. I'm definitely struggling a little bit on that point myself. I think definitely I need to have a good sit down and have a real long play and look at some images for some references as well, to try and get, the balancing and proportions of, the weight distribution and so forth just right to make it look cool. But, overall, not too bad. It definitely is pretty fun, especially for that giant axe. Okay, so this is the Kaiju 8 lineup so far. Kikoru in the center, Reno, Kaiju 8, Mina, Kaiju 9. Obviously, Hoshino's coming next. Looking forward to him. I wish again have updated articulation. That is, so yeah, we'll jump into the pros and cons now. Let's start with the pros, right? The axe is awesome, the detailing is great, the sculpting is nice, it does capture the essence of the character. We get good expressions, windswept bangs, base bangs, all of that is really cool. Nice selection of hands, well, at least the hands that we need, right? Ones that hold the axe, and the loose kind of finger spread ones as well. The pouch design tool, that's the same as Reno and Mina, so no real difference there. Now, the cons, right? At least for me, the main con is still that torso articulation. I would have liked to see some updates there to give her more range, especially so she could be more dynamic in her poses with bending over and so forth. The part of her hair on the back, which limits the articulation tilting her head back, is a shame. Same with these little bits of armor stopping it going forward. I know that part is the character design, suit design, so that one's a bit more forgiving. The one here on the back, so maybe they could have done something there to allow it to look back further. Or maybe put in a bit more motion into the neck so you can kind of combine the two for the extra range of motion. So for me, that is the main con. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the case for most people, but let me know in the comments below what you think about that. And then the other mild con is the haircut. I'm not digging that yellow. Again, I feel like it's just a little bit too anemic, I guess, a bit pastel-y, bit soft. I think a little bit extra colour in there, like the Gacha figures, would have been ideal. Or a little bit more orange, like Android 18 here. I think this one's a bit too vibrant. But you know, something in between, a little bit more detail or highlights on the hair, or you know, some shading could have elevated it a lot more, because the sculpting is cool. The fact that we can articulate the ponytails is fantastic as well. So you know, it's almost there, but just not quite. But I do feel like she is probably the best out of the three suit figures so far, though Mina was actually really good, and that big gun is badass. So I don't know, both of those two are great so far. Dino though, probably the weakest in terms of that torso articulation, right? And the other thing which would have been nice would be if we got the pistol gun for actually for Dino and for Kikoru here. She often uses the big gun as well. So I think we probably switch this on. The hands are bigger, but she might be able to kind of hold it with those hands. So I'll have a look at that in a moment, actually, just before we wrap up. But I think a gun or a effect set in general for the Kaiju line would be awesome, actually. You get multiple versions of this gun, the pistol, and the hands to hold it to switch in and out. Maybe some explosions or some, you know, half blown up like Kaiju bodies or something like that would be really cool, right? But before we wrap up, let me quickly switch the hand over so we can see if she can hold Dino's gun. Okay, so there we go, she's holding the gun. Yeah, it basically works. Like, you know, the trigger hand's not quite right, looks a bit weird, but if you're doing toy photography, I'm sure you can make it work. The pegs on Dino's wrists are bigger than Kikoru, so you can't switch hands there, plus his hands are bigger anyway, so it looked a little bit weird. But hey, it's good enough, especially if you're just doing some toy photography. But yeah, anyway, that is it for this review. I hope you enjoyed. Leave lots of comments below. What do you think about the Kaiju 8 line in general? And who do you want to see next? I'm still itching for Kaiju 10 and hopefully like a cleaner, sweeper version of Kafka, and then I think those two would be pretty damn cool, actually. But yeah, anyway, that is it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers!